Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to talk about intelligence, and more specifically intelligent people. What the world has shown us in the last decade is the world is chock full of those that are not intelligent. But when you talk about intelligence, you have to talk about different types of intelligence, which we do on this channel, and we've had conversations about that before. I think the best book on intelligence is Successful Intelligence. It talks about the difference between being successful in taking tests versus successful intelligence that expands your mind, so how quickly you grow and know things and how fast you can use the tools that have been put in front of you. Another great book around intelligence is 20/20 Brain Power. It tells you about how to more focus your thoughts around that. This is by Joshua Reynolds and Robert Heller, MD. And the third one I'll suggest, and this was actually a very good book, The Whole Brain Business Book. If you look at that, when we talk about intelligence, it tells you how you learn based on the quadrant of your brain. It suggests that the brain has 4 quadrants, and based on which quadrant is the most dominant in your brain, it's going to show what jobs you're attracted to, what subject matter you're attracted to, what people you're attracted to, etc. So if you want to take a look at those books, those are great resources. But I read an article today and it was talking about 30 key signs of highly intelligent people. And this was from a periodical called The Amazing Times, which I'm unfamiliar with. But we'll go through this and take a look. The first one they say is when they don't know something, they look it up immediately and they can't stand not knowing because they are curious about and want to do more. So I have this issue, as you can tell. That's where this channel came from. It's not that you can't think of anything else, but that curiosity, you want to feed that curiosity. And every time you feed that curiosity, you learn a little bit more. And typically, you're going to find something that stands out to you. So the first one is they want to look something up as soon as they figure that out. The second one is, it says, social intelligence, spatial intelligence, and problem solving, etc. So social intelligence is spatial intelligence and problem solving. And it says, when it talks about how you get successful in places where other people can't be, you have problem solving skills that allow you to do that. So that makes good sense. The third is smart people don't get smart by acting like they know everything. They ask questions. I agree with that completely. And it won't be just the dumb questions to have people repeat what they said. They'll ask questions more around the idea of what's the thought behind, why are we motivated to do this way, and is this way documented in a way where we can drive out issues with best practices. So a high IQ test is not the only way to measure a person's mental abilities. The ability to answer and solve problems helps impact that as well. Number 4 is a highly intelligent person is one who is flexible in their thinking and can adapt to changes. I agree with that completely. Most situations are the way they are because they haven't had the opportunity to evolve and improve. I was an efficiency person by profession. That's what I do. You go in and you fix processes and fix team and train team to live up to the processes and give that intellectual support. Also, emotional intelligence theory, where you go in and you think about people specifically, how to motivate them, what's motivated between them, and how you can handle those things together to push the whole group forward. So that's a good one. Highly intelligent person is flexible with their ways of thinking. They're willing to consider different viewpoints when presented with the compelling evidence and accept when they make a mistake. Absolutely. One sign of intelligence is, and that's the thing about being an efficiency person, that's what's great about what our government is doing now to find efficiencies and waste. The expectation should be for everyone to remove waste from everything that they do. So that is a part of intelligence. If you're not thinking about that, then it suggests things about your intelligence. And so that's one thing that I think needs to be focused on these days. Number 5 is a willingness to learn. It says dumb people think they know everything, so they don't bother. And I would say even people that think they're smart, if they think they know something already, then there's no way to teach them anything. So be willing to learn. I do that constantly. I read books constantly. I read articles constantly, just because I'm curious. I have that curiosity and I want to learn. And my expectation is there's 8 billion people on this planet and some change, right? My expectation is every one of those people can teach me something. Okay. Now it may not be rocket science, but it may be something useful, something small that they do daily that's actually very intelligent that could solve a problem that I have, but I haven't done it their way before. So maybe there's something like that. The sixth is the ability to change our mind when presented with new information. Intelligence at its core is constant reassessment of your own knowledge and the ability to acquire and apply more. Part of that apply more is some of the intelligence we were talking about in this previous book is it's not can you learn and hear a thing, it's do you know how to apply it to the point that you can see the improvement and you can drive improvement in a thing. So that's correct. The ability to change your mind, the ability to acquire more and apply more intelligence. The seventh is they quite frequently explain things or answer questions with, it depends. Intelligent people tend to have a hard time explaining something they know a lot about because it's hard to boil any particular topic or object down to one portion of it or another rather than the way in which the whole interacts. So I agree with that. Here's what I say. I said it depends based on the situation. However, here's an example. So you give an example. That way the person that's asked you a question can then give you their retort and you can see where their level of understanding is too. Because one of the best things you can do as an intelligent person is try to help other people. And in doing that, you can learn things yourself. When they provide a straightforward answer, it only singles out one component as the explanation. It limits people's creativity too. So if you give an example instead of trying to fix the problem, they may creatively come up with a resolution. And let me tell you, when someone champions their own resolution, even if it's the best one and you already had it, but you let them get to themselves, that's going to move a whole team forward better. So that's a good one. Number 8 is they are aware of their limitations and just how much they still don't know. As a consequence, they also tend to underestimate themselves. So here's the problem with intelligent people. They know that they're intelligent, okay? Here's the problem. A lot of people in the world think that they are, and they're not at all. So the limitations that you think about is, it's always timeline. I said that before. The issue is not the goal. The issue is the timeline. So sometimes with intelligent people or driven people, they're too focused on the timeline. If they just continue to take a step forward to get to the goal, their intelligence will see them through and they will get to that. So I think that's a good call out on a sign of intelligence. Number 9 is they have a look. They look at things and people, not through things and people, and actually make direct eye contact and mean to it, because a lot of people struggle with eye contact. But you can tell they're constantly observing, conscious, looking at the world and not witnessing it passively. Or you can call that being present. Because in that moment, you can learn more from the people in the room, from what they're asking you, from the situation that is, just by being situationally aware. And being situationally aware is being present in that time so you can ask the questions that they have of you or answer questions that they have of you. You can watch how they respond, because a majority of our communication comes from our physical response, not just our words. And it gives you the opportunity to see what motivates them and understand them a bit better, which can help you properly give them a better answer or a better suggestion or a better solution. Andy Simon, PhD, a corporate anthropologist and author of Rethink, said quick-witted people don't ask questions for the sake of asking. They do so with a purpose. Someone must have this often quoted line, knowledge is having the right answer, intelligence is asking the right question. We forget that all of life is conversation. Intelligent people recognize that others have information and insights that through shared conversation will help them both grow, expand their wisdom, and enhance their intellect. So basically, you're learning from someone else's struggle and someone else's contribution. That's doubling down on your growth and in your education. Excuse me. I mean, at this point, here's number 10. Just believing the earth is a sphere is good enough for me. I guess this one is they accept proven truths to be true. 11 is they don't immediately attack you for giving or having an unpopular view that is different. Intelligence is being able to entertain an idea while not being convinced by it. I agree. And I think that's emotional intelligence as well, which the book that I mentioned earlier talks about emotional intelligence and how it is useful and how it really does motivate people and how they see the world. So Also, if you have someone on your team that you respect and they have an opposite opinion of you, if you two are at the table together, nobody's going to throw something out there that you're not prepared for, because those two opposites will prepare you best for whatever may come. The 12th one is they listen first and speak or ask questions after understanding. Intelligent people have an unusual ability to digest a situation and then position a question or a frame that cuts through the noise and advances everyone's thought process. It's great when you can do that. I've been in places before where people limit that type of conversation and you never move anywhere. And those people always want to have meetings for hours to discuss the exact same thing you discussed last week, the exact same thing you discussed the week before. There's no forward movement. So they're just bogged down in their own limitation, because just because they're a boss, they don't think the people that they hired, all those minds, they don't think those minds collaborative or smarter than they are, which is stupid. So if you see a person that has that intelligence, that asks a question, they keep moving conversation forward, that's a solid thing, especially in a leadership role. There are many ways to look at intelligence, but it's clear it goes beyond book smarts. Sharp people strive for lifelong curiosity and never-ending thirst for knowledge. I agree with that completely. And guys, if you can get into reading books, that's the best thing I could tell you, because just the books that I mentioned here, I found those just curiously chasing a thought process. And it led me to one book, which led me to the next, which led me to the next. And some of them will go that way. And at any given time, I'm reading 4 or 5 books at a time. You can find a way to read 10 pages a day. And if you do that, you can read books in a month, 1 book a month. So that's 12 books a year you could read with ease if you just do 10 pages a day. For average books are 200 pages or less. So many ways to look at intelligence. The curiosity and the thirst for knowledge is an extreme measure of intelligence. And I find where I can't be in a room with people that don't have that. You know, a lot of people fill their time with things that aren't going to benefit a lot. So think about that. Be aware of what people are doing around you. Be aware of what they're acting like is important. 13 says a very smart person says if you walk away from any new challenge and didn't learn anything, you weren't paying attention. So I agree with that. Learning, either you win or you learn, right? So these things aren't really signs. This is just a bunch of observations. Quick wit and humor, that doesn't necessarily mean intelligence. It may be all they spend their time on. They listen instead of talk. A former CIA agent was asked this question. His answer was because he said the quietest person in the room is listening to everything that's being said, which makes them the smartest and most dangerous. I'm not sure about that. That seems to be an observation. I wonder if they're talking about the negotiating book. I may go over that book again. It's been a few years. I may do another video on that one. Next one says, this is number 16. Let's give an example of a head engineer that's highly intelligent. The order that he asks questions so he can come to an understanding of the issue forces me to think in a process that hurts my brain. I love that. So I've worked with engineers. Stan Skunish was a great guy. He's a great guy from what I call hurdy-gurdy land in the Danes, right? In talking to him, he thinks completely differently than I did. And when we would go to plants and have equipment work or not, we would go through the reasoning of that. And I would talk to him about the emotional intelligence or the direct manufacturing limitations and supply chain type limitations to such a suggestion. And he would go through with doing it based on the speed that was there. It was pretty incredible. But it did force me to think differently, to explain things to him. And it did force him to be more patient when he was explaining things to me. But man, we were a team. We got it knocked out. We were able to knock 2 and 3 jobs out at a time when other people took the time it took us to finish 2. It would them just be getting started on theirs. So yeah, it doesn't mean just because someone thinks differently, if you can key into how to communicate with them, it can help. Number 17 is they read a lot. And it says, I'm sorry, I've never met a truly intelligent person who wasn't an avid reader. That's a quote. They didn't give the person a quote credit for that, but we did a video on him a few weeks ago, so look it up. His name is Charlie Munger. Avid reader. His kids said that he was a book because he always had his nose in a book, and whenever they wanted to find him, they just went to his reading chair, and there he was. 18 was one of the most common. They stumble over words and or have bad handwriting because their mouth and hand have trouble keeping up. Guilty as charged. I do that some in this on this channel, going through things. 19 says they don't participate in debates with loud, ignorant people. Man, that's getting harder and harder not to do these days. Here's my point too. If you're an intelligent person and someone's loud and ignorant, they're not listening to reason, they don't have facts, they don't see things for what they are, then why argue with them in the first place? I just say, okay, they'll give me their opinion on all that, but sure, why not? You're not going to get wisdom out of a head that doesn't contain it. Okay. The Bible says that it's a fool's errand to try to teach someone who's not listening. So you just have to let it be. You have to let it be. One of the things I think is good intelligence is they can explain a difficult matter in an easy way, or basically what I'm saying is they can take a difficult concept, chop it up into digestible pieces, and then give that to folks in messages that they can handle so they can progress and move forward. That's an excellent one. And some of the smartest people I've ever met could do that around the most difficult things. I mentioned Sten earlier with the engineering, but there's other folks too that from a financial perspective, from educational perspective, from a historical perspective, like right now, you talk about the government. Everybody always hates the government, angry with the government, but they want to fight each other about their party is better than the other. It's stupid. Either you hate the government, you don't. And why do you hate the government? Because they take your money and they waste it. And then governments in the last century, in 2000, right? But in the 20th century, governments killed more people than anything else on earth. So when you think about it, there's good and there's evil. Government is a necessary evil. You hear people say that all the time. But you come back to the fact that a government that's not limited is awful. So it goes to the same thing. If you're going to explain difficult things, you have to be able to ask good questions. So 21 is ask good questions. Questions that indicate what they don't know or have an answer that helps confirm what they do know. They will ask fewer but better questions, confirm the answer by restating it, and seek extra information. 22, it says, able to explain things perfectly. He does away with all the complicated jargon, simples it down. One of the things I love is simplicity. And look, that is the sign of intelligence. Keep it simple. It's been around, they call it the KISS principle because there's a name for everything. But keep it simple they say keep it simple, stupid. I say keep it simple, sweetheart, right? So you don't be rude for no reason. But if you keep it simple, everyone can understand and bring forth their best contribution. If you use a bunch of 30-letter words, and use the whole alphabet to explain things, you're going to lose a lot of people. Also, if you use the modern jargon, where you use an AI or shortened text or some soft script, short script, whatever, you're going to lose people. So talking common language so everyone in the room can answer your question, that's a sign of true intelligence. If you can speak in a way that you're not alienating anyone, that's intelligence. So think about just the last few years about left and right and all of that, and how products have come out and done one thing or the other and cut off half of the possible customer base. That's not a sign of intelligence. That's someone literally shooting themselves in the foot and saying, I want to make money from this group of people, but not all. End of the day, one of the best stories I read, it was about the 70s. And in that, there were people, it was about the TV show, The Dukes of Hazzard. And so the Dukes of Hazzard, it was just like a lot of stuff in the 70s and 80s. They were just out there selling toys. That was the purpose of the shows. And in that, this company was selling Dukes of Hazzard's toys. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that didn't like the Dukes of Hazzard because they didn't watch the show, and the Confederate flag was on the car, and it was a Southern show, which was a very Southern thing at the time. And people didn't like it for that. So the same company that made the cars and sold the cars made buttons that said, I hate Dukes of Hazzard, ban Dukes of Hazzard, because they were making money off of both sides of the thing, which I thought, wow, that's smart. And he said, I just wanted to beat people to the market. Somebody was going to have a problem with what we were doing and saying, because people have problems with no matter what anybody's doing, right? So that was a good point. I thought that was very cute, very, very smart, very intelligent situation. 23 says, waiting a few seconds to ponder a question before answering instead of blurting out the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know if that's a thing about intelligent. I think it's more about being aware of the room that you're in. Intelligence, when it comes to a subject matter that they know, they can deconstruct it in a way to explain it using analogies to make sense to others. So a lot of these are repetitive. Curiosity is 25. When they drop an interesting factoid and you respond with cool, I wonder if blah, they have an answer for it, or at least a couple of different ideas because they actually look into it instead of just regurgitating it. That's a big thing these days around true intelligence. A lot of people regurgitate what they hear and what they see. It doesn't mean that they know anything. A lot of that's just skin deep, right? It doesn't go any deeper. So true intelligence means they look at something and they study a thing. And you have this time. Why not do all you can? If you're an eternal soul and what you learn and what you know, you're taking that forward forever. Why would you not want to fill that bank? Why would you not want to fill that library? In my mind, every book I read is in my head in some way, shape, or form. So I want to read all of them. Nonfiction, of course. But if you don't look at it that way, you're going to limit your thoughts to just the period of time that it keeps your attention. The next one says they listen and ask a follow-up question that you never even thought of, but it ends up completely changing your way of thinking. You're going to have a hard time finding that. And that isn't necessarily, that's a show of specific intelligence, but I wouldn't say that's just assigned randomly. 28 says, one of my favorite Shakespearean lines is, brevity is the soul of wit. I think a measure of intelligence is to take complex information and convey it in simple terms for others to understand. So they've said the same thing as 4 different points in a row. Conversely, I don't think much of people who do the opposite to make themselves appear smarter than they are. Nice little opinion piece in there. 29 is, it's hard to know from the outside. Intelligence is the ability to learn, retain, recall, apply, and abstract. Knowledge and wisdom are not good indicators of actual intelligence. Intelligent individuals can be anything. They could be apathetic or impassioned. They could speak like a thesaurus or fumble through simple sentences. They could seek tertiary education or lack both a high school degree and GED. Living situations dictate individuals' intellectual display more than personality quirks. So it'll be complicated. That's all false. I think it goes back to which quadrant of your mind is dominant. All this other is just nonsense. People that are wise and that have knowledge respond to things in a certain way. Something has worked for them in the past, and they'll continue to use that until it doesn't work for them. So that's what intelligent people do. They don't reinvent the wheel with every conversation that comes up with every person that comes in their life. So that was all nonsense. The next one is, this is the final one, I think. In my experience, intelligent people are always open to constructive argument, conversation, depending on their knowledge of the topic. It depends on the company, regardless of the topic. One big condition is this only counts when they are able to admit that they don't know everything about the topic or ask people more. That goes back to intelligent people know how much they don't know. Meaning, they know, I know a little bit about this subject, and everything you can learn in a lifetime is still just a little bit about a subject. So, decent article, just kind of repetitive and wandering at places, but it's something worth looking into. If you like reading about intelligence and discussing intelligence, I would suggest you check out this book, Successful Intelligence by Robert Steinberg. It's been one of the better ones that I've read. And then The Whole Brain Business Book by Ned Herman. There's that one. 2 great books on intelligence and subject matter around intelligence. Here's the point. Everyone thinks they're intelligent. Okay? IQ tests are a marker. Success is a marker. But what I would say is the greatest mark of intelligence is that curiosity and that thirst for knowledge, where they're constantly trying to learn more, constantly trying to digest more, constantly trying to participate in conversations talking about ideas and subject matter driven from ideas. If it's people talking about clothes and other people and something someone said today, that's not going to be something that's important 5 days from now, 5 weeks from now, or 5 years from now. The things intelligent people are doing is trying to improve themselves today so they can be better tomorrow than they were yesterday. If you like subject matter such as this and videos such as these, please like, please subscribe, please share. I'm Ben. Be good.